Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
But you have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
My teammates and their friendships have been such a huge part of my success. In 1997, my rookie year, I watched guys like Joey Galloway, Sam Adams, Kevin Mawae, Winston Moss, Philip Daniel, Chad Brown, and Willie Williams. I learned so much from these guys.
Kevin Mawae, you're one of the best and toughest opponent I ever faced. And I'm not even feeling real comfortable you sitting behind me right now, man. Look at him over there. But I'm so relieved to see you out of that ugly green jacket and wearing a gold one. It's nice.
The game of football is the greatest game in the world. There are few environments where a group of people of different upbringings, different backgrounds, different races, religions, and regions can come together and put aside every one of those differences for the common goal of putting the team together to win a game. The game of football taught me accountability, it taught me discipline, sacrifice, and selflessness. It developed in me grit, tenacity, and confidence. It challenged my faith, it grew my loyalty, it sealed my legacy.
All right, and with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series connected by Extreme Networks. Today, featuring that man you just heard from up there, Hall of Famer, Mr. Kevin Mawae. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education and Leadership Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to speak to our special guests as well as all of our students here in person and everybody tuned in online as well. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the greats of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made the guy that's going to be sitting right here in this chair a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but also made him a great person off the field, a great member of his family, and truly an overall great person. Before we bring get the program started, we bring our special guest up here. I do have some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks. Without their support over the years, this program wouldn't be available. The students wouldn't have the opportunity to hear from our Hall of Famers, so thanks to them for all of their support. Secondly, I'd like to thank the teachers, educators, anybody that brought their students here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame today or watching in their classroom. Thank you for allowing us to just be a small part of your students' learning experience. And then lastly, I have to thank the students. Without you guys here today, this program would just be me asking a bunch of questions. We're looking forward to see the questions that your students have today, and soak it in. This is not every day that you get to hear from a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, so truly, take this honor with some respect. It's a very cool moment that you guys get to be a part of here today. Throughout the program today, I mentioned students are going to have the opportunity to ask some questions. Students have been pre-selected. They have a card. They're in the back of the room. Periodically, they're going to be coming up throughout the program to ask a question. When you step up to the microphone, state your name, the school you're from, and then go ahead with your question. And we'll try to get to those as many as possible. If you did not get picked and you think you have a pretty good question, find a member of our staff there in the back, tell them your question, and we might be able to fit that in. If you're watching us online, you have a question, go ahead and throw that into the YouTube chat, and those questions might be inserted into the program as well. No matter where you're watching today, whether you're here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame or you're tuned in online, if you take pictures, videos, and post them online, make sure you tag at Pro Football Hall of Fame, at Pro Football HOF, and at Extreme Networks, and use the hashtag HOF values in your post. Just might be reshared. We are very fortunate to have a lot of awesome schools here with us today, so I'm going to go ahead and read those off. We have Monticello Middle School, Cuyahoga Falls High School, Edison High School, Malvern High School, Project Rebuild, Howland High School, Garfield, East Liverpool High School, Waynedale High School, McCormick Middle School, Bridges Learning Center, and McKinley High School. A lot of great schools here today, so thank you all for being here. And with that, that's enough of me talking. We are proud to welcome a member of the 2000s All-Decade team, played 241 games, 8-time Pro Bowler, 16 seasons in the NFL, but most importantly, a Hall of Famer, Mr. Kevin Mawae.
Thank you. It's good to be home. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for coming.
All right. So first off, welcome back, and I'd like to start the program off with you've walked into this building being Kevin Mawae, NFL legend. What's it like to walk in this building with the gold jacket as Hall of Famer Kevin Mawae?
It's pretty cool. Anytime you guys don't know me, I'm a crybaby by nature. So anytime something like this happens, I get choked up. He warned me about the video, but that didn't bother me. But coming home, knowing that I am a Hall of Famer and one of the best, it's a surreal feeling. But I do it with pride, knowing that it took a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of sacrifice by a lot of people for me to be here. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Anytime I get an opportunity to do something with the Hall of Fame, it's exciting. It's it allows me to share my purpose, my vision for what I believe life should be like, but hopefully to inspire young people to become the best they're capable of being as well.
So we mentioned those 5 values, kind of off a little bit of what you mentioned there. Commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Those 5 values that we believe in here at the Hall of Fame. Out of the thousands the game of football teaches, is there one of those 5 that stand out to you most that impacted your career on or off the field?
It's hard to pick one. I think commitment is something that we all talk about, and the reason why is because having coached now at every level, I coached junior high, high school, I coached in the pros, I coached in college. The level of commitment it takes to get to where you want to go, to be the best you're capable of being, is not a small feat. And there are people who want what I have, but were not willing to do what I did and sacrifice what I sacrificed to get to where I got. And so commitment's one of them, and being totally committed to the goal, the cause, the vision, the purpose, the plan, and all that. And the other thing is integrity. I think for me, integrity is the best. You are who you are when nobody else is watching. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it should be done. I can walk away from deals and walk away from jobs knowing that I did things the right way, and my integrity never being questioned. Everything from playing to being the president of the PA and coaching college football and high school. When you have integrity in your life and you do everything with integrity, nobody can question your person or question your character.
And you mentioned coaching at the different levels, from junior high to the professional to the NFL. What's some of the similarities and differences? And can you talk a little bit about, we know what it takes for a player to prep. to play on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays. What, from a coaching aspect, what's the time commitment like? What do you have to go through, and how can you reference from your playing career to help you in those moments?
Well, I think depending on what level you're coaching, you got to be able to take the message, the coaching, the X's and O's to whatever level they're at. And I challenge it. Are there any coaches in here? Coaches, raise your hand. All right. So I've challenged people, like, if you really want to coach at the higher levels, go coach 5th and 6th graders. Coach them first, because if you can simplify what you did at a high level, I'm Hall of Famer, and coach 5th and 6th graders how to do whatever, the task or a play in a very simple way, then you can coach anybody. Because try to get like stray cats to understand how to run the jet sweep with 2 guards pulling and stuff like that. If I can get 5th and 6th graders how to do it, I know I can teach NFL guys how to do that. And so that's one of my deals, my challenges to people who want to get into coaching. Go coach junior high. Go coach 5th and 6th grade. Go coach the young kids first, and see how simple you can make what you know to teach them. And then as you go up in the ranks, now you increase your level of teaching, you increase the intensity or the complexity of what you're trying to teach. And you get to the NFL, you're not really coaching guys, you're just giving them pointers. How do you walk into a room and tell a bunch of Hall of Famers or a bunch of all-pro guys, well, this is how you should be blocking this? And your job is at that level is to understand what they're capable of, what they're not capable of, and tweak their game to benefit them the most, but to help them be successful in our scheme.
You know, we talked to values, and I'm sure those values are implemented in your coaching as well, but I want to talk the idea of respect. And, you know, you play the game of football, and in the trenches, you know, there is such a high level of respect. Now, I'm sure there's some trash talking back and forth between the offensive and defensive lines. You know, but at the end of the day, you have to respect your opponent. And I think that grows so much when you become a member of the Hall of Fame, because at one point during the year, you're in a room with people you looked up to, people you played against. What's that level of respect like between all of the Hall of Famers?
Well, I think the level of respect between player to player is like when you have this jacket, it's not what did you do, it's like thank you for what you did. For the older guys that came in, I played for Mike Munchak, who was a Hall of Famer. I played in Pro Bowls with Bruce Matthews, and I know today is Gary Zimmerman's birthday, and he's a Hall of Famer. And to watch guys that grow up, like Damani Dawson, you know, when he got elected into the Hall of Fame, and I saw him for the first time after his induction, I thanked him. And he's like, why are you thanking me? I said, because if you didn't get in, I'm never getting in, because he was that good of a player. But I watched him play. I watched guys like Mike Webster and how he played the game. One of the first guys that really made weight room a commitment to his craft. And so to look at guys and say, thank you, I respected your play. Sitting actually in this room that we do the Ray Nitschke luncheon, and it was in this room, and I sat at the table with Mike Munchak, Bruce Matthews, and I couldn't figure out who the guy across the table was from me. He was telling stories, and then one other guy said, well, John, tell me about this. And I was like, oh, it's John Hanna, you know, one of the greatest Patriots of all time. And in the years since, I've gotten to hang out with them and be around them, but the level of respect that the Hall of Famers have for one another, whether you think they should have got in or not, at the end of the day, we all have a gold jacket, and you're no better than I am. But you build your career off of the shoulders that came before you. The game is bigger than you, and when I'm out of the game, it's going to continue on. And when you're out of the game's going to last forever. Players come and go, but the game's still going to be here. I mean, the NFL game is over 100-some years old, and so I'll pass away. This gold jacket will go in the grave with me. But somebody will still be playing the game of football, and hopefully they'll be talking about, I remember watching Kevin Mawae play and the things he did, or they'll see something in the Hall of Fame about my career and be like, oh yeah, that dude was real. And you know, but a lot of it is because I have respect for the game and I have respect for the players I played against and with.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to open up for some questions from our students now. So whoever's up first, go ahead, step back to the microphone, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question. Off the field in your own life.
Yeah, well, I think hard work, commitment, dedication to excellence, integrity, doing things the right way, it goes across all forms of art, it goes across all forms of athleticism, all businesses. If you're going to be a business owner, do it with integrity, be committed to your cause, respect your employers, or your employees, and respect your opponents. Somebody in the same business field or whatever. But football is the greatest sport there is because it takes all 11 guys on the field at one time to be successful, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And my job is solely dependent on how well the other 10 guys do their job. And my success is related to the 2 guys on either side of me as an offensive lineman. So all those lessons that I learned on the field, you take those and apply them in practical day-to-day life, and it makes you a better person. You become committed to your opponent, to your cause, your business, your workplace, whatever. Committed to your teammates. You do it for someone else. You do it because you want other people to be successful as well. Football is a selfish game that takes a lot out of you, but it takes selflessness to be successful in it. And I think the same thing in whatever area of life you choose to go into.
Awesome, thank you.
Great question.
All right, we're going to take another question from our students. So again, same thing, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
Your character is going to be tested in many different ways. I think you realize it more as you become an adult. I was coaching at a school, and you have rules that you have to abide by in terms of recruiting and stuff like that. And I chose to not do it the way they wanted to do it. I'm not doing it. It's not right. It's against the rules. I'm not gonna hamper my integrity and my character because we're trying to get an 18-year-old kid to sign with us. I'm not gonna do it. And I'll lose a job over it. I'll do it the right way, even when everybody else is doing it the other way. But I stuck to my guns because I was gonna do things the right way. I was the president of the NFLPA, and Gene Upshaw had passed away. And so I was tasked with the job of finding the new executive director for the NFLPA. And my only goal and my prayer for the entire time that I went through that process is that I would do it with integrity and that my character would be held high so nobody could question my integrity in the process. I got subpoenaed to the Capitol in D.C., had 3 senators call me to their office to give accounting for my search process because somebody brought into question my character and the integrity of which I did it. And I walked out of there with my head held high because I knew that I was doing things the right way and I wasn't being compromised by anybody. So those are 2 examples. Thank you for the question, Mary.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about what the NFLPA is? What do you oversee as a player who runs that, and some of the things you do and the things you have to balance?
The NFLPA is the National Football League Players Association. It's the union that governs the players and handles the negotiations between the NFL players and NFL management. And so in 2008, I got elected as the NFLPA president, which means I represented all 2,500 active players at the time. And so during that process, the executive director is hired by the board, which I was the head of the board, and he passed away. So I had to go through the process of finding a search firm. But during negotiations, many of you, especially the adults, remember the lockout in 2010, 2011. I was the president during that time and helped lead the negotiations to get football back in place. So we collectively bargained the negotiations between the players and the ownership, how much players get paid, benefits, wages, all that kind of stuff, workplace environment, conditions. And I was the president during that time representing all 2,500 players. And so that was a part of the deal.
All right, we're going to take another question there in the back of the room. So go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and go ahead with your question.
My name is Eric Mosley. I go to Homestead Middle School. My question for you is, what does it mean to you to be considered the greatest offensive lineman in NFL history?
Greatest offensive
lineman?
One of the greatest.
I would definitely not say the greatest. I would say one of. It's something that I don't take that lightly because there's so many guys that played this game before me and guys are coming after me, guys that I looked up to. Anthony Munoz was my hero in college. I watched him play. I studied the way he played. And I wanted to be like Anthony Munoz. Mike Webster, one of the best centers that ever played the game. Damani Dawson, we overlapped in our careers, and I saw what he did. You go on with Steve Hutchinson. I played with Walter Jones. I'm not the greatest that ever played the game, but I get to be called one of the greatest. And what that means to me is like, I achieved a dream of a lifetime that many people wish they could have, and very, very select few get to have it. And it wasn't because I wanted this. I didn't achieve to become a Hall of Famer. I just wanted to be the best I was capable of being, and had fun doing it. And I love the game of football. I have more fun than anything doing that than anything else. But to be called one of the best that's ever done it, I take that with pride, but there's a lot of humility that comes along with it, and I just say thank you. So.
All right, we're going to take another question here from the back from our students, so go ahead and step up. State your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Austin Forbes. I'm from Huron Middle School. My question for you is, growing up in a military family with a father who was a surgeon, first class, were there any lessons he taught you that you thought were learned from the Army?
So growing up in a military family, what was that life like? What did you take away, and then how were you able to apply those values to your life?
My dad served in the military, served in the U.S. Army for 23 years. He was a Vietnam War vet, and he continued on. He retired when I was in high school. One, you don't talk back to your mom and dad or your elders. It was very harsh, yes sir and no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am in that family. My dad's lesson that he always taught, and I spoke about it in my speech, and excuse my language if I'm gonna say it. My dad said, if it's worth doing, don't half-ass it. And what that means, if you're gonna do it right the first time. And what I've learned over the course of my life is it takes more energy, effort, and time to go back and redo something that you should have done right the first time if you just cut the corners the first time around. And so my thing is, if I'm gonna do it and I'm all in, I'm gonna do it right one time so I don't have to go do it again. And then the other thing was about family. My dad was stringent on family and taking care of one another and protecting your brothers. And that's not a military thing, but it's the way he was brought up. But yeah, and there's no back talk, man. I mean, my dad didn't say much, but if you said something back to him, it wasn't good. So the older parents in here would understand. We can't treat kids today the way we got treated, but my dad was a prime example. My dad, I think the one thing that stood out in my dad was the pride he took when he put on his uniform. This is so stupid. But to sit there and watch my dad spend an hour polishing his boots the night before he went to work. Spit shine, you can mirror shine boots. Double starch uniform with his BDUs or his olive greens on or whatever. To watch the pride my dad had when he put that uniform on. Yeah, that meant a lot. So.
I think, no, it's all good.
I told you I'm crybaby.
I'm the same way. This idea of pride, and, you obviously learned it from your family, but, that term is so loosely thrown around in the game of football, and the pride the fans have and the pride you have to be on your team. How important is that as an athlete, as an NFL player, and then how do you translate that to other parts, business, coaching, family life off the field?
Well, this is not me. This is somebody else tagged this. Pride is personal responsibility and daily excellence. Think about that. Personal responsibility and daily excellence. You are responsible for how well you do the things that you're responsible for. And at the end of the day, if you don't take pride in your work, if you don't take pride in your schoolwork, if you don't take pride in the way you dress and the way you carry yourself, if you don't take pride in who you are as a person, and whatever your ethnicity is, take pride in your religion, whatever it is, if you don't take pride in those things, you lose yourself. You lose a little bit about yourself. And you'll never become the person God's intended you to become. So when I think about pride and how I played the game, I wanted to step off the field knowing that I did my very best. That there's nobody else that outworked me, that there's nobody else that outplayed me. Now, I'm going to get beat, and that's just life. You're going to get beat. Somebody's going to top you or whatever, but they're not going to do it because I didn't do my best, because I didn't give every ounce of energy or effort that I had. Personal responsibility and daily excellence is what pride means to me. And everything that I do and everything that I try to accomplish, I want to be excellent at that and the best I can possibly be.
I think the end result of having a high amount of pride or pride in what you do is, your goal is to leave a legacy, whether it's as a father, a teacher, a coach, a Hall of Fame football player. You talk a little bit to, even at middle school, high school kids that we have watching here today, how can they understand how important it is to leave a legacy and how their teachers are trying to do that for them, how their coaches are trying to do that for them?
Yeah, I think there's one fact in in the whole world about humans is that we're all going to die at some point. We will all die at one point in time in our life. It might be earlier, it might be later. But what is said about you when you're no longer around means a lot to me, and that's what your legacy is. Who do people think you are, and are you the person that they think you are? And for me, I think about legacy in the game. I think about the legacy that Anthony Munoz left as one of the best players that ever played his position. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, a guy of the community, a guy that excelled to become the very best. That's a legacy that I wanted to be like that, and I wanted to be somebody like that. I think legacy goes to who you are as a dad, who you are as a husband. I've been married 30 years now. I have a 26-year-old son, I have a 23-year-old daughter. And at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says about me as a football player. The legacy I want to leave is that he was a great husband. This is so stupid. Sorry. A great husband and a great father and a great friend. The one thing for me, I think the legacy I know I will leave behind is that my friends and my family know I am loyal. I am loyal to a fault. If you're my guy, or you're my buddy, you're my friend, you're part of my circle, I am loyal to die for you. And that's the way I am. There's no greater love than lay down your life for somebody that you love. And that's a biblical principle. And I love my wife, I love my kids, I love my parents, I love my brothers, and I will do anything for them. And so my teammates know that. The legacy that I left for my teammates is that I could count on Kevin. And he was one of the best I ever played with, and he treated people right. And I don't know who you are, I don't know, but I do know this.
All right, I love it. All right, we're going to go back to the back of the room for another question. So go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question. Welcome to the NFL moment. When did you know that you were in the real stuff now?
So I was a second-round draft pick to the Seattle Seahawks, and I was a 2-week holdout. I was trying to renegotiate my contract, and that's when I realized, one, how big of a business the NFL is. This isn't just about playing football anymore. This is a money-driven league. And so it bothered me that I couldn't be in camp. So the upside was that back then they had 2 weeks of rookie camp, and then veterans came in. I got to miss the entire rookie camp. So that was one. That was wake up was the business of the NFL. Two was like, this is the real deal. So we're playing in Seattle, and we're playing against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm a deep snapper for punt team. So I was a second-team snapper. So I'm in the second half of the game, and I got to go snap the ball, and I'm running down the field to cover the punt. And I'm looking up for the ball, trying to see where it's at. And now in the NFL, they don't mandate knee pads and thigh pads. They don't mandate mouthpieces or anything like that. It's like I'm not wearing a mouthpiece. I'm not wearing my knee braces. I'm just going to go out there and ball out. So I'm running down the field. I'm looking up, and it's almost 30 years later. I still have no clue who hit me. So he decleated me. I bit through my lip, and I was like, oh, no, man. These guys hit real hard here. So I started wearing my knee braces, my thigh pads, everything, and I put my mouthpiece in, and I never took it out. So that was one of those welcome to the NFL moments. I still have no clue who hit me. I just know he had a creamsicle jersey on, and that was it. So that was two moments.
When was that first moment you're playing the Bengals and Anthony Munoz is on? What was that moment for you when there was that older veteran that lined up against?
We're playing my first game in the NFL. It's a preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers. We're in Candlestick Park in San Francisco, and I got to go out and warm up snapping with the punters and kickers. And I look up, and Steve Young is throwing the ball to Jerry Rice. I mean, you young guys, do y'all know who Steve Young is? Young guys, young people? Oh, see, you guys got to learn your football. He's a Hall of Famer, by the way. He's upstairs somewhere. And Jerry Rice, anybody know who Jerry Rice is? Probably one of the greatest receivers that ever played the game. Yeah, so they're warming up, and Steve Young was throwing the ball to Jerry Rice, and I'm sitting there like, oh, my God. I'm just doing this number. I'm like, Steve Young throwing to Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice throwing back to Steve Young. I'm going back and forth, and my coach like, Kevin, you need some warm-ups in. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? That's Steve Young, and that's Jerry Rice. Oh, my God. I'm on the football field with these dudes. And so that was one of the moments. And then later in that year, so for those that know or don't know, Joe Montana was the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, he became a free agent, and he went to go play for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we're now in Seattle a couple of weeks later, and I'm sitting on the sideline. I used to sit on the sideline like 4 hours for a game, just kind of hang out. And Cortez Kennedy's one of my teammates. He's on the sideline, not talking to the dumb rookie, but hanging out with all the boys. And Joe Montana comes across the field to talk to Cortez Kennedy. And then Marcus Allen comes across the field hanging out with Joe Montana. And I'm like, oh, it's Joe Montana and Marcus Allen. If I get up, I run into the locker room, I grab a football from the equipment manager, come out, and I get Joe Montana and Marcus Allen to sign a football for me, and I still have it to this day. So that was one of those, oh my gosh, I'm in the NFL, and I get to be one of these guys. And I'm calling him Mr. Montana and Mr. Rice, and now it's like, hey, Joe, what's up? That kind of thing. So that was a pretty special moment for me.
Awesome. Talk about your time there in Seattle. Right when you started the NFL, you were moved to right guard, pretty much after playing center your entire career up to that point. Was it tough to make that adjustment, or were you like, no, I'm in the NFL, put me wherever? Well,
so when I played at LSU. For those you know, it's the greatest college of all time. I know you guys are OH.
I know.
Whatever. We do. Well, by the way, we got another Heisman Trophy again. So just saying.
Saw that. Yeah.
We're catching up to you guys. But anyway, so I played. I forget the question. Oh no. So at LSU, I signed to LSU as a center, and I got redshirted, so I played all over offensive line as a scout team guy. And then because of injuries, I ended up starting playing left tackle in college, and that's why I got drawn to Anthony Munoz. So my redshirt freshman year, sophomore year, I was exclusively left tackle. My junior year, we got a new coach, whatever. I played 1 game at guard, 3 games at center, and the rest at left tackle. I made first team all conference that year. And then my senior year, I finally moved to center. The center was always my natural position. I get drafted to play center, and because of injuries during minicamp and training camp and stuff, the starting guard, Gus Farrat, has a career-ending injury. Week 4, Bill Hitchcock, who played at Purdue, had a career-ending injury against the Indianapolis Colts, and so I get thrust into the role of being the right guard. And so I ended up playing there for 2 years, and it's not what I was intended to do. And then my 3rd year, I finally got switched over to center and played the next 14 years. So I played all the different spots, and I was used to playing. I played both sides, left, right side. I was a pawn that could be moved around to any position while I was in college. So it wasn't uncomfortable for me, but I knew it wasn't my original position. So when I got moved back to center and I was a full-time center, I was like, I finally found my sweet spot. This is where I need to be. Yeah. At 275 pounds at the time, you don't want to be playing the other positions. So.
All right, got another question in the back, so go ahead and state your name, school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Alex Freeman, and I go to Allen High School. My question for you today is, who influenced you the most in your life, and how or why did that person do it?
It's my mom and dad. It's not even close. My mom and dad have been married almost 55 years now. It's always been about family, and it's always, I was one of 4 boys. And for those of you who have siblings, your parents may have told you this. Now you can sit there and fight and argue all the time. When we're dead and gone, the only ones you're going to have are your brothers and your sisters. And so it was always about family for me growing up. And to watch my dad, and like I said, I talked about how he prepared. My dad was in aviation, and I would go to the hangar and watch him take care of his helicopters. There was times when the weather would get bad. Me and my brothers would go out there and bring all the helicopters into the hangar with him to take, and because he took pride in his work. He took pride in who he was, and I'm talking about the way his uniform starched. There wasn't a wrinkle in it. I mean, it just take pride in everything you do. My mom, she worked in a warehouse her entire adult life. She worked in the man's world. She was a warehouse supervisor, and her come home and do all that and still find time to be on the field and come out there. We played tackle football. My mom was on the team. I mean, but to see how they loved one another, how they raised their boys, and how they treated people in the community. My mom and dad were auntie and uncle to every Polynesian guy that ended up at the military base. I come home for Thanksgiving, we had 30 guys. I had no clue who they are, but they're all the local boys from Hawaii who didn't have a place to go. They opened their home up, they opened their resources up, and that's who we were taught to be. and to treat people, to love people, to treat people the way you want to be treated, and to make sure everybody feels like they're part of the family when they come around us. Ohana is a big word in the Hawaiian community. It's not just, Moana. Ohana means family, and family is us. Ohana means if you're connected to me, then I'm connected to everybody that's in your life. I am, my high school players that I coached last year, I am connected to them in a way that nobody else will ever be, forever and ever. They are part of my ohana, and that's what the Hawaiian culture teaches you, and that's what my mom and dad brought up in us. So.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we're going to take another question from our students there in the back. So again, state your name, school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
I'm Lucas Cocker, and I'm from So High School. So Kevin, besides being a Hall of Famer, what is the biggest accomplishment of your career?
30 years of marriage.
Smart answer, great answer.
Yeah. We live in a world where the divorce rate is 50% in America. It's 50% in the church. It's 50% in the non-secular world, in the secular world. And so marriage, aside from marriage, is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And for you married people in here, you guys understand that. For you young people that one day will be husbands and wives, it takes a lot of work. It takes a whole lot more work to be a happily married couple than it does to be a great football player. And it's selfless. You got to give of yourself every day and die to yourself to make your marriage work. So being married for 30 years and hopefully for another 30, and raising two kids. My son's now 26 and my daughter's 23. They're semi-successful, almost adults. My son is working in land conservation in Kona, Hawaii, and my daughter's in her second year of law school. And I've been a parent of teenagers, and I know what you guys are going through, your parents, and you guys probably know a lot of stuff I went through. It's not easy, but being a parent and being married that long is one of the two most successful things I've ever done.
Awesome, thank you, great question. All right, we're gonna take another question from our students. So go ahead, state your name, school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Caden, and I go to Lee. And my question is, what was it like playing for the New York Jets and just being in the city during these various attacks on that one?
We talked a little bit about your work in the PA, obviously in the PA when this happened. Just tell you a little background on, obviously we're not going to get into nitty-gritty details, but what was it like being in New York in the city and then having to represent the entire NFL?
So going to New York Jets, it was a big change for me. The two things I said when I was a free agent is I would never live in New York, and I'm never going to play for Bill Parcells. And I did both at the same time. And it happened to be the best thing I ever did. Parcells is the greatest coach I ever played for. And New York, when you're winning in New York, it's pretty special. And we had years of success while I was away. I went to the AFC Championship game my first year. So having gone from Seattle to New York, which is now the largest media market in the world, I made a name for myself. I went to my first Pro Bowl my second year with the Jets, and it continued on. I became an NFL PA rep, which means like student council. Did you guys have student council in your high school still? Your student council rep? So I was a rep for my team, and I eventually became a president, the vice president, and president. But I was the team rep for the New York Jets during the 9/11 attacks. And so having been there and seen what was going on in the state of New York, or in New York in our country, the NFL had to make a choice whether we're going to play that Sunday after the attacks or not. And I was on multiple calls throughout the week with the entire board of reps, 32 teams being represented. And Phil Hansen, who was the defensive end for the Buffalo Bills, was on the phone, and he told everybody on the phone to be quiet. He was the only two people that needed to be talking. It's Kevin Mawae and Michael Strahan, because we're the only two guys that were in the New York area at the time, and we were representing those two teams. And I told them that under no circumstances would the New York Jets play that week, that we would take a forfeit if the NFL made us play. And so, because it was that dire. I lived in Garden City, New York, of which 85% of the people worked in the financial district. Going by the train stations, and the cars are still there 4 weeks later, we had a lot of loss in our community. And for us to decide to go play a game was the wrong thing to do for the NFL and the wrong thing to do for our country. And so, because of my insistence that we weren't going to play, and Michael Strahan telling them the Giants would not play that week, 24 hours later, Paul Tagliabue canceled the games that week. And we feel like we had a big influence on why we didn't play, because at that moment, in that time in our history, football was the most insignificant thing that we could be doing. And worrying about our family and our country was the most significant thing. And so having a big part, I take great pride in being the voice of the players during that time where we canceled the NFL week. So good question, though.
So you go through that. NFL comes back to playing.
Yeah.
Being in that community, every stadium having American flags. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. Players running out, wearing the FDNY hats. You go through all this struggle and that stress. But then what was it like to run out of that tunnel after all that happened?
So the week we came back, we played New England, and Joe Andruzzi was an offensive guard for the New England Patriots. 3 of his brothers were fire department. They were New York NYFD, they were fire department guys. And so he runs out with American flag. We all have our Port Authority, New York Police Department, New York Fire Department hats and all that kind of stuff. And there was more pride, not just in that community and in that stadium, but in this country at that time than ever before. The pride of America has fallen off so much since 2011 that it's almost disappointing. But the pride that we had in our country and who we were as Americans during that time, immediately after the 9/11 attacks and for the whole time leading up to the Afghan war and stuff like that, that's something that many of us may not ever see again in our country. And so if we can go back to the pride that we had as Americans back then, that would be pretty special.
Looking at the game of football, how cool is it to be associated with a game that no matter when, it can be Sunday, it can be 5 years from now, but can bring all these different communities together. And then on Sunday in the stadium, you're all cheering for one thing.
Yeah, Bill Curry says it best, and he has a speech about looking in the NFL huddle. And when you're in a huddle, you look across to the guy across from you, you stand next to the guy, there's blacks, there's whites, there's Hispanics, there's Latinos, there's every ethnic group you can think of is sitting in an NFL huddle, particularly on NFL football. I mean, on a football huddle or a football team. There's Jewish, there's Muslims, there's Christians, there's atheists, there's agnostics, there's guys from all walks of life, rich, poor, in between, whatever. And when you're in a huddle, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you look like. They don't care where you came from. They don't care how much money your parents make. They don't care how rich you are. All they care about is, are you going to do your job so that we can be successful? And that's why I say football is the greatest game, and it is the most selfish game because it takes so much out of you. It takes away time, it takes away family, it takes away your body, but you have to be selfless to play it. You're not playing because, a lot of people play for different reasons, but at the end of the day, you're playing for the guy next to you. And if we were to take just that little mentality out of the huddle and put it into our workplace, put it into our neighborhoods, I'm doing this because it makes my neighbor better. I'm doing this because it makes my neighborhood better. I'm doing this because I want to see you succeed. I'm doing this because I want you to have a little bit of sampling of what I got. If we had that mentality and everything we did, this country would be in a whole lot better place than what we are right now. But that's the great part about a team sport. It's never about you. It's never about the individual. I don't care if you're a quarterback and throwing for 3,000 yards a season or running back that scored 15 touchdowns a year. It wasn't about you because you didn't do it by yourself. Put that in volleyball. How many kills you got? Somebody had to set you up. Play baseball. Doesn't matter how many RBIs you had because somebody else had to get on base to get you those RBIs. You talk about basketball. It doesn't matter how rebounds you had. Somebody had to throw up the brick shot for you to get the rebound. I mean, just think about it. A team sport is never about the individual, ever, and it never will be about the individual. Now, I'll say a quarterback, the NFL and football is a quarterback-driven sport. You got to have a guy that can play the quarterback. But if you don't have offensive linemen, you're going to look like Deion Sanders' son getting killed every week. The dude got sacked 26 times in 5 games, right? But you're only as good as your offensive line. Your receivers, you're only as good as a quarterback that's throwing the ball to you. The quarterback, you're only as good as the O-line blocking for you and the receivers that are catching the ball. The running backs, you're not going to run for 1,200 yards if you don't have an offensive line blocking for you. Defensive backs, if you're playing cover 2 and you're not one of the 2 high, you're not doing your job, right? And the defensive line's not making the pressure, you're not going to get the air and ball. It's a team-driven sport. It's never about the individual. That's the thing that kills me. As a coach in high school, coach in NFL, and the coaches that around football, to see a kid think the game's all about him, it bothers me because they're disrespecting the game. And I go back, I'm getting fired up now. I don't want y'all to know this. But it's not about you. It's never about you. It's about the team. And when you're successful, the team's successful. When your teammate is successful, you win. When I had a really good friend of mine played in the 1A state championship in Louisiana. I went down to watch him play. Small school. His first year as a head coach, then went to the state championship game. And I watched those kids. They started 4 8th graders on the varsity team. 4 8th graders on the varsity team, and they lost by like a point. And not one kid was pointing his fingers at everybody else. They were loving up on each other because they did it, not he did it. And when we start thinking about other people and everything that we do, how does what I do affect the person next to me? How does what I do affect my family? The decision I'm about to make, how does it affect my legacy? The financial decision I affect, how does it affect my kids, my heirs, whatever? When we start thinking in those terms, then we transcend ourselves. And when you can't think beyond yourself, how sad is that you're living the most selfish life you can live?
Oh, it's perfect answer.
So,
I love it. All right.
I can get worked up. I can cry, but I can get worked up.
We saw
too.
Coach Mawae there a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to back for some more questions. So go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Megan Miller. I go to Greenville High School, and my question for you is, when adversity struck, where did you go to gain your confidence?
Ooh.
So you go through adversity, obviously.
Are we talking about sports or just adversity in general?
I think in general.
In general. Oh, man, the greatest adversity I ever experienced is when my brother was killed in a car accident. And I was not a church-going person. I was just a guy living for myself. My dream was to be an NFL football player, to make millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff. And I really never had adversity, right? I was a good student. I was an A-B student. I came from a good home. We weren't rich. We weren't poor. We had everything we needed. I got selected to the NFL, a second-round draft pick. I worked my butt off. LSU wasn't that. I mean, I worked my heart. We sucked at LSU. We only won like 14 games in 5 years. But that wasn't adversity. It was just it was what it was. But when my brother was killed in a car accident, that changed everything for me. Because now all of a sudden life became more important than football. And then 2 weeks later, or a month later, I found out she was pregnant. And so I lost my brother. My wife's now pregnant. I was lost, right? And I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't have people I didn't have confidants. I didn't have mentors that I could talk to. And this is, I'm not preaching to you guys, but part of who I am is my testimony. And I opened the Bible up. I had a Bible that was given to me at an all-star game in college. I never looked at it. I never read the Bible in my life. I had no idea what was in it. And I opened the Bible up. It had my name on it. It was given to me as a gift. And I didn't know where to start. And I was like, they have Old Testament and New Testament. And I thought, New Testament's got to be better than the Old Testament. So I started reading the New Testament. And as I read the New Testament, I read the entire New Testament, and I found out about this guy named Jesus and what he did and who he died for. He died for me. And he started making sense about everything. It's like, and then John 16:22 says, now is your time of grief, but we will be together again, and you will rejoice. Nobody will take away your joy. It was a promise by God that one day I'll see my brother again. So, within a year, I read the entire Bible, had a bunch of questions, and I became a born-again believer. June 24th, 1997, I got saved, and I've been living for the Lord ever since, and hopefully my legacy in my life is a testimony of what God's did in my life. So anytime I face adversity, the first thing I do is go in a silent place and figure out what's next that God showed me. Most recently, I was a head football coach, and it didn't work out. And myself and the school agreed to part ways. And I didn't know what was next. And I just felt in my heart, my coaching career is over. It's time for me to move on to something else. I sat. One day, I fasted. I didn't eat anything, and all I did was pray. Say, God, give me an answer. And God released me from coaching. This is like 2 weeks ago. And so that was some of the biggest adversity I had to face. And let me tell you this, and you coaches, you know, and if you're a parent, it is what it is. The worst thing about coaching high school kids are the parents. Just want you to know that. The worst thing about it is every parent thinks their kid's a Division I player or going to college or getting scholarships. It's the worst thing about being a high school coach is dealing with parents. But God, that was some adversity I had to deal with. I had to do some soul searching, and God put it in my heart. You are done with coaching. It's time for you to move on and use your life as a testimony to help other people. And that's where I'm at right now. And but when that comes to adversity, I get down on my knees and ask God to show me what I need to do. So thank you for opening that door for me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Great question. All right, we're going to take another question from some of our students. So go ahead and state your name, school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Jason Kelsey, Philadelphia Eagles. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple years ago. I was on staff at the Indianapolis Colts, and we played the Philadelphia Eagles in Indianapolis, and I introduced myself to him. I said, hey, Jason, I'm Kevin Mawae. He said, man, I know who you are. I've been watching you since I was – first of all, you don't want to hear somebody say, I've been watching you since I was little, because that makes you feel old. But he goes, but I introduced myself to him, and I watched him play, and he's a little bit bigger than I was. I played at 280. I think he's like 305 or 310 or something like that. But I like to watch him play because he reminds me, and he's the guy that closest reminds me to how I played the game. And so is Jason Kelsey. Great question.
So we bring up the Eagles, we bring up Jason Kelsey as a center, as an offensive lineman. What do we think about the tush push?
I think it's great. I mean, look, if you can do something better than everybody else, then so be it. Everybody else wants to copycat you. It's a legal play. It's a quarterback sneak, and they just found a way to perfect it. Take what somebody else did, make it better, make it your own, and own it. And they have owned it. I think they're like 85, 90% on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 in the NFL. And now the commissioner's trying to ban it. He doesn't like it. It's part of the game. I mean, it's like we protect everything else in the game. We protect the quarterbacks. We protect the wide receivers. And all that kind of stuff. And then you want to take something out that works because the guy at the Washington Commanders. Y'all saw that, right? I'm still old enough. I caught myself. A little woke. The Commanders. Who else? Dallas. Who else in that division? And the Giants. The 3 teams that are on the competition with me doesn't like it. But guess why? Because they keep getting beat by it. But anyways.
All right, got time for a couple more questions here in the back. So go ahead with your question. State your name, school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Roberto Gonzalez. I'm from McKinley Senior High School. And my question for you is, when did you know? Sorry.
You read your card, man.
When did you know you had to walk away from the game?
Oh, wow. I was in 2007. 2008. I was starting my 15th year in the NFL. I made a deal with God. I tried to. I knew I was coming up on the end of my contract, and I just prayed about it. I said, God, if you let me play 2 years past my contract that I'm on, I'll give 100% to you. I'll give every dime I make to you. And I got my bank statement, and there's a voice as audible as you talking to me, and God spoke to me and said, it's enough. It's enough. And so in 2009, my contract was up. I was volunteering at Vanderbilt. I get a phone call from the San Francisco 49ers 2 weeks into training camp. They just drafted Alex Smith, and Mike Iupati was a young guard. They wanted me to come out there, break in Alex Smith as a young quarterback, Mike Iupati, but they were offering me a minimum wage contract with no guarantees, no bonuses. And I would have to leave Nashville, leave my family, go to San Francisco. My agent asked me, what would be your greatest regret? Would your greatest regret be going to San Francisco knowing you weren't supposed to go, or not going and wishing you went? And my greatest regret would have been going to San Francisco knowing that I should have been done. And that night I prayed about it. The next morning, God said, you're done. And the other part of it, because I am a Christian, I said, well, God, I may try to make a deal with you. And he said, I never wanted your money. All I wanted is your heart. He goes, you're done with the game. That day, I told my wife, I'm done. 2 weeks later, I announced my retirement and never looked back and never missed playing again. God released me from wanting to play the game. And now I stand on the sidelines, and it hurts to hear the crunch, and it hurts to hear the impact. But I've never had a desire to want to go back and play. My goal from that point on was trying to teach the game and love the game like I did, and I think I've done that. So, good
Awesome.
question.
Thank you for the question. We got time for one more student question in the back, so go ahead and step up, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Claire Sundberg. I go to Middle School. My question for you is, if you could have played with another Hall of Famer of your choice, who would you choose?
Oh, man, if I could have played with another Hall of Famer, who would I choose? Oh. Geez, that's so hard. That's such a hard. I would have loved to have played next.
370 guys to pick.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of guys. Could you pick a whole lineup? I would definitely have loved to play next to Anthony Munoz because he was my hero growing up or in college. Oh man, I played with Warren Moon, so he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if that counts or not. I played with Walter Jones. He's a Hall of Famer. I think it counts. Curtis Martin, I played with him. He's a Hall of Famer too. So I think all the guys that I would choose, I've already played with them, to be honest with you. But if I had to go back old-timer, I would like to have been a teammate of Mike Webster. He played my position, and I would like to have seen what he was capable of. Because I've never watched a game of his, and he was older than me. Yeah.
That's a pretty good list.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good list. Good question.
Awesome. Students, thank you for all your questions. Before we ask our last one here, again, I just want to thank you for giving up your time coming up here. It's a cold. I think it's sunny today. Ohio.
It's sunny. No, it was like this in Nashville yesterday.
Okay.
It's just not too bad.
Okay.
There's no snow yet. I won't be here when the snow comes. I'll let y'all know that.
Well, we appreciate you giving your time to be a part of the program today, speak to our students. And our final question here today, wrap up every program this way. If there's one item, one thing you want everybody to take away here from today, we could have already talked about it and something you just want to hammer home, or it's a point we haven't got to yet. What is that one thing that you want everybody to walk out of this room with today?
I think if I had to tell you young people one thing, I would say stop trying to be like somebody else. Stop trying to be like Johnny, or I want to be like this guy. I mean, it's one thing to have heroes, and like I hope that those of you who want to go to the Hall of Fame, you can be like some of us that are in the Hall of Fame. But I think I would challenge you just to be the best version of you that you could possibly be. Not everybody's going to go to the NFL. Not everybody's going to play professional sports. Not everybody's going to, not every dream gets attained or realized or whatever. But what each person, individual can do is be the best version of them. Be whatever it is God gave you, excel at that. Be the best you can be at whatever it is you're doing. Don't try to be like, well, I should have been like so-and-so, and I should have been. No, how about this? How about you be the best Johnny? How about you be the best Adam that you can be? How about you be the best Susie, the best Mary? Be the best person that you are capable of being. Because when you do your very best, then good things happen. I had a quote in my locker, hung in my locker for 21 years, from my college all the way to the pros. It was from John Wooden. It's kind of funny, there's a joke in here with Jameer Howerton. He's on staff here. He tells me he used to read this every day. He thought I wrote it, and it was one of his big deals. And he found out, I was like, I never wrote it. John Wooden did. Success is a peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing that you've been the very best to become the best you're capable of being. Success is defined not by other people, and it's not defined, this is me now, this is not defined by other people, it's not defined by your pocketbook or your paycheck. Success, in my mind, is when you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, was I the best I could possibly be today? And if your answer is yes, then you've achieved some success that day. Keep doing that every day. At the end of the day, look in the mirror, was I the best I was able to be today? Was I the best person I was able? I was the best student? Was I the best son, the best daughter? Was I the best brother, the best sister? Was I the best person that I could be today? And if the answer is yes, then you're going to go far in life. Because when you try to be like somebody else, you just become a lesser version of that person. what I would hope that each one of you guys is be the best version that you can be. Be the best whatever it is you are. Clarinet player, drum player, I don't care what it is. You have a talent. It's your job to find out what that is. It's a purpose that God has given you, and your job is to be excellent at that. And that would be my challenge.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, part of the Hall of Famer series. Again, Kevin, thank you so much for being here, being a part of the program. To all of our students who came here today, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. Everybody that watched online, we hope you guys can make it back. And with that, we're going to wrap up this installment. Let's give him one more last round of applause here today. Thank you.